Alright, I'm not sure who made this, but it made me laugh, and I found it on Demich's page, so shout out to Demich. Anyway, so, I was wrong. Not about everything, not even about most things, but about enough. I had some predictions about the potential sell-through numbers on a worldwide scale for the Nintendo Switch 2, and I was off. I think Japan, Europe, and the Americas kind of lined up to exactly what I expected, but that other category kind of blindsided me. Again. So there's still plenty of data to analyze, and I am going to analyze it. But from the very beginning, my intention through all of this was that it would lead to some kind of backlash that would hopefully make Nintendo treat the customers better. It was meant to be a discussion against corporate greed, a fight against blind consumerism, and I hope that there would be value in the discussions that we had, even if ultimately it didn't mean anything and Nintendo was going to go about it business as usual. The reality though is that it was never in my intention to mislead anybody. I am just a random dude looking at numbers at the end of the day. And as long as I felt the discussion that I was pushing forward was following things in the correct manner, and things were heading in the right direction, then I would continue to push this discussion as far as I needed to, as long as I believed in the end goal. And the end goal for me was always a price drop so that Nintendo could be affordable for the majority of its fandom. And I could no longer in good conscience attempt to mislead anybody into assuming that a price drop is going to come from Nintendo. That's not going to happen. They sold through 15 million consoles in the first year. That puts them at around an 85% sell-through rate. By my own metrics and by my own arguments, that is too successful of a first year to assume anything would change in the following year. Even if there's a massive drop-off over the next few months, which I still think is very feasible. Even if the Circana data comes out in 3 weeks and it ends up being the worst January that we've seen since the Wii U days, I think Nintendo has done just enough to get by through the next year. And that's even if within 6 months they are no longer considered the fastest selling console in history. And I want to say that because I want to be very clear to my audience. I want you guys to understand my intentions as I continue to make content. Before, I was doing this because I believed there was an end goal. I was enjoying it, I was having a great time. I still am having a great time. But the end goal was always in front of me and it was a primary focus that I had. But if I no longer believe that there's going to be a price drop, I want to make sure that's very clear and very understood to you guys. The Nintendo Switch 2 sold through more in 2025 than I would have imagined they could manage. They did so with discounts on a worldwide scale, obviously, but they still sold enough, whether I like it or not. But I also kind of want to address a few things that I think are worth addressing. I never intended for this discussion to be a magnet for toxicity. I believe in boycotts, but boycotts only work when there's enough people power behind it. Maybe one day more people will believe Nintendo and more of these gaming companies have gone too far. But for now, people are forgiving towards corporate greed, and they like buying overpriced stuff more than I expected, at least. I still very much stand by my belief that this channel was part of a healthy conversation that consumers should be having, even if I was wrong about my sales predictions. Because the cause was right. This is going to sound kind of cheesy, but I don't want to live in a world where there are no Nintendines, because that's just a world that completely owns us. Even if I'm shouting into the void, at least I am shouting into the void and it's resonating with some people out there. If all of this rabble-rousing means that the next time Nintendo has to think a little longer before raising prices, then I'm all for it. I'm not saying that I had the effect. I'm not saying that any of us will have that effect. But I clearly tapped into some widespread feelings amongst a lot of Nintendo fans, and gave it a bigger voice. As far as this channel is concerned, I'm still just going to make content that I want to make. Naturally, a lot of it will be focused on Nintendo. I'm probably going to be spending a lot more time focusing on my retrospective channel, mostly because, well, Nintendo is not releasing enough games. So I gotta talk about something. Also, I've been wanting to kind of move all of these old retrospectives that I have on my main channel over to that one, but I want to re-record them because I have better quality equipment now. I just have no idea when that's going to happen. That might be my next project, I'm not sure. But this channel is going to keep being what it's been, in the sense that when I see something that I want to talk about, I'm going to come here and put a microphone in front of me and talk about it. It could be sales data, it could be gaming news, it could be a review about a game. I still have yet to buy a Nintendo Switch 2. I don't know when I will buy a Nintendo Switch 2, but I imagine whenever I do that, it's going to be on this channel. I still have zero intention of giving Nintendo $1, and I'm kind of against praising anything on the Nintendo Switch 2 right now because even if I'm buying the stuff used, if I'm giving a good review of Bonanza, for example, that might lead to more people spending money towards Nintendo. So I'm obviously going to be focusing more on retro stuff. emulation, handheld gaming PCs in order to play Nintendo games, ROM hacks, fan games. Or you might just get random gaming discussions where I yap about a memory or something completely pointless. I don't expect my channel to be as big in 2026 as it was in 2025. I expect it to actually drop down quite significantly, quite frankly. I think there are a lot of people here that were motivated by the cause, and if I'm coming out and just not making videos about Nintendo potentially moving towards a failure, then they probably will not be around for the rest of the content. But I think I made myself very clear back in April when I completely shifted from doing daily Mario retrospectives into covering Switch 2 stuff. The most important thing for me, in order to not get burnt out when I YouTube, is that I enjoy the content that I'm making, and I enjoy the content by uploading what I want to upload. And that will always be the case whether the view count is at 500, 5,000, or 500,000. Ideally, enough of you will still be around where I can have some conversations in the comments. If we go down completely to zero, I might have to pivot. But, I mean, we really only need a couple dozen people. But to be clear, in case I didn't make it clear earlier, I still plan on covering Switch 2 sales and Switch 2 data. I am too deep into this to not continue to track it. And I absolutely want to do a deep dive analysis of the most recent quarterly reports. And I might still walk away with it with some predictions and conclusions that might anger some folks. But I want you guys to understand that I am no longer doing that because I believe there will be a price drop. I want that to be very clear. I was absolutely wrong about how many sales Nintendo would make in 2025. Even with the discounts worldwide, I didn't expect it to hit this number. Prior to the launch of the console, I did predict that they would reach their one-year forecast by the end of December. You can watch my video right before the console launched for that. But after it launched, and over the past few months, I didn't think it would hit 15 million sold through to customers by the end of the first year. So I was ultimately wrong about that. Anyway, that's about all I got for right now. Will I be back later tonight for another upload? Maybe. I don't know. I'm still going through the quarterly report, and I don't want to rush the next video. Also, just before I leave, there was one more thing that I was actually wrong about. I thought the Nintendo would absolutely skyrocket today. Turns out they dropped 6% with the market opening, which completely was unexpected. And I don't know what that means, nor do I have any intention of misleading anybody into what it could potentially mean. But just what if they announced 3D Mario today? Hear me out. No, seriously, hear me out.